welcome to the Chopping Up Podcast Studios. Back for another episode of the Temple of Speed. I love to hear those cars go by. Today we have a very special guest this week. If you can't tell, we're kind of a little bit different environment than what you're used to. There's not like a split down the middle right here, guys. We got a nice kind of setup here. This week we're live from the Rolex 24 Daytona Beach, Florida. And I was able to find a friend, David K. Hall. We're kind of hanging out in the old hotel room. And it's kind of exciting. I'm excited. What do you think, David? It was a long trip for you, all the way from Arkansas.
Yeah, I drove from Northwest Arkansas, and it was about an 18-hour drive. Stopped on the way and got to drive through a bunch of ice through parts of the country that don't spend budgets on equipment for ice because they don't get ice.
Yeah.
So it was, I didn't have enough experience driving on ice that you basically go slow.
Yeah.
Made it, we get a little bit of ice in Arkansas, so it was manageable, but it made the drive a little bit longer. But there were plenty of podcasts to listen to, and being as I'm retired now, it was a pretty stress-free moment as well.
Yeah. I heard it sounded like they shut down some of the like I-75, I-95 at the Florida border because they're like, no. Like, no.
I don't know if it was shut down or effectively blocked because of the accident. I just usually rely on Google Maps to sense traffic, and it said, hey, there's a slowdown, go this way instead. And it took me on a bunch of back roads. And about south of Atlanta, it was really icy. Then it started to clear up into slush. Once it got into slush, you could kind of sort of move until you got stuck behind somebody who didn't know how to drive on slush. And had to go a little bit slower. And I don't think they had any snow plows out in South Georgia because it was still the second lane on a major highway was still completely slush, and so you couldn't get over there and pass when the first lane was clear. You know, it's just driving in winter weather in the South. If it happens once every 3 years, they're not going to spend money on snow plows.
Yeah, no, it was certainly interesting. I flew from Salt Lake City last night, and it was weird flying to Atlanta. I was looking out the airplane window, I'm like, snow in Atlanta? I'm like, what? Is this, am I seeing this correctly? Because I could just see the glow because it was at night. I just see glows. I'm like, is that snow? Like, that can't be right. And I get to Atlanta, and I find out that there's been people that have been there for days that have been stuck at the airport due to the weather. And there's people that, and I was lucky to get out of the airport. I feel very fortunate. I half wanted to call this guy because he was in Atlanta at the same time that I landed. I was like, hey, yo, dude, just come get me because this isn't going to be pretty.
You would have to go pick up your luggage later.
That would have sucked. Yeah, we'd have to go by. We'd have to go to Daytona Beach to pick up my luggage on the carousel.
I stopped at the state line. I made frequent stops just because of drinking so much caffeine and being older. You know, frequent stops. I'm not going to make it go five hours straight without stopping anymore. But I was talking to somebody from right at the Florida state line. He was like, so is this like the first snow in y'all's lifetime? And he's like, no, the last one was 89. That's how rarely it snows in this area.
Yeah, no, that's surprising. And we're looking right out the window at the skyline of Daytona Beach. You kind of look in a certain direction. You can probably see the track from here. Kind of a good view out the window, isn't it? It's kind of pretty out there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up on the fourth floor, and let's see, what direction are we? We're facing east, aren't we?
We're facing east, yeah.
So the sun will come up.
Right behind us.
No, that way's east. That we're facing west.
Yes, you're facing west.
We see the sunset.
Yeah, we'll see the sunset if we were here tomorrow. But we're facing the racetrack where the racetrack would be if it wasn't. You know, it's been pretty cold so far, hasn't it? We're kind of misting. We went to go see the Daytona 1. You know, we got to see all those cars, which was cool for me. He's seen them a couple times. Yeah. Is that kind of what those look like at those inside events? They kind of have like that kind of a thing before the event, or no?
I've only been to the 24 once before, and when I came that time, I was still working, so I wasn't able to get here until Saturday morning, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I took Friday off, so I either got here Friday evening or Saturday morning because I didn't get to see the Michelin pilot race, and Yeah, they had a lot of them out then as well. Uh, and then also when you'll find it pretty neat when they're gridding the cars before the race. They're all out, and you can look at them all, and you can go up and say hi to the drivers. You can go hang out in the pit stalls. So it's a lot more laid back security situation than you get at say NASCAR
Yeah.
because there's just not as many people, so they can be a little bit more accessible.
Well, I think also has to do with like not to insult the NASCAR people. I think IMSA attracts a different crowd a little bit.
I don't think it's that as much as it's just how many people there are.
Is it?
I mean, they're sold out for the 500
Oh yeah.
already. So it's just going to be that much, that there's that many more fans. I mean, NASCAR is the top motorsport. So
Yeah.
there's going to be that many more fans if you're a Chase Elliott or Dale Jr., you're not, you can't move if the fans find you. They'll just shut your movement down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but out here in Daytona, guys, we'll talk a little bit about through the weekend. I'll try to see what I can do to get some lives, some more streams throughout the weekend here at the Rolex. But we're focused on David K. Hall today. He races a lot of NIS, a lot of special events, sports cars. That's what he enjoys. But honestly, he's more famous for being on the iRacers Lounge podcast. Oh no, what was
That was a smart. We're a niche. We're a niche hobby podcast, right?
It really is. And I met him through Mad Sim Racing ITA. Well, I guess I knew you before that through the majors, and we talked a few times through the majors, but and now we're at Daytona together. It's interesting, but yeah, we're kind of worked out a deal for the campsite, didn't we?
Yeah, I have an option for a teammate to stay at the house if I wanted to, but I really wanted to get the experience to stay in the track. I didn't actually know until after the fact that we're camping next to the track, but that's fine too because we're still going to be right here to get to hang out with the other ITA guys. And I just wanted the experience of camping. I had my car rigged up when the eclipse was coming through. It was coming right over where I lived. However, usually Arkansas is cloudy in the winter. And this was more fall, but there was no idea, no way to guess what the weather might be. So all of the hotels would probably be booked. So I bought a bunch of privacy stuff and a blow up mattress, and it can actually fit it. Being a small, short guy, I can actually sleep in the back of a Nissan Rogue and fit. And I had it all rigged up to go park somewhere if I needed to be able to outrun the clouds for the eclipse. But it ended up being so clear I was able to just stay home and see the whole eclipse. But I have all that stuff. So yeah, on the way over, I parked at a Love's and threw up all the stuff, and it was tolerable, but it was 4 degrees and the air in the car stayed fine, but the bed being attached to the bottom got very cold, and so about every 3 hours I would wake up to the surface of the bed just being too cold, even though I had plenty of blankets on top of me.
Yeah, you can only do so much to keep the heat in from underneath too. You gotta heat both directions. Say heat, but the cold can come through. So yeah, he's sleeping in a car. I'm in a tent at the track. So it might be a little bit cold this weekend. It's what they say it's gonna get down to like 30 degrees at night, right? About 50 to 60s during the day. Or next Monday we'll get to like 70. As soon as the race is over, we'll finally heat up. Once it's nice and for the state. But so you were born in Arkansas, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. What town was that?
I was born in Little Rock, but pretty much raised in Jonesboro.
Okay. Yeah. What is there to do in Arkansas when you're growing up there? Like, what would you do as a kid? Like, because I know it's different for everywhere you go. Like in Ohio,
when you grew up too.
When
I was there, that was the time. Actually, I'm the OG gaming generation, right? Gen X. So Super Nintendos came out when we were teenagers. I remember Super Mario Brothers and all that stuff. So but what we could do is the town was safe enough then. You could ride your bike all across town. So it was literally be home before the city lights turn on, and so you just get on the bike, go to a friend's house, or go hit a pickup football game, once we got old enough to drive, there was the cruising thing that you would do before gas was stupid expensive. You just literally just drive the same little loop in the town and hang out with everybody. And so things like that. There was a bowling alley. There was a mall that a lot of kids would go hang out with before they could drive. That's what that was kind of the junior high hangout, was the indoor mall. The parents would just drop them off and let them run around and loiter around for a couple hours. Cinema. So it was kind of like a suburban life without the inner city being right next to it. If we wanted to do anything big city wise, Memphis was just down the road.
Yeah.
So by the time I was in college, I was going to Memphis a lot, including getting to play at Alfred's a few times with the Navy band over in that area.
Yeah, you're
over on Bill Street.
You're very involved with band, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm a former band director, and I play quite a bit now. Honestly, should have never become a teacher. I retired a little bit early, just at 25 years. I just got fully burned out on it. COVID really changed this current generation. They're behind even more emotionally. On top of that, the way social media is, they are racked with it way more anxiety than we ever had to deal with, I think. And everybody had their, fear of rejection and such growing up, but they can be in a room with 3 people and think the whole world's watching them. And it just got to be old. And my happy place is on the stage, performing. That's really what I enjoy more. And so I'm actually retired now, and I've actually moved in with my parents. Well, my mom is no longer at home. We had to put her in what's called a house of 3, which she has 2 other elderly roommates in a home with a live-in nurse, essentially. Too much. The dementia's just got there, and Dad can't keep up, can't take care of her, and he's still moving fine. But I'm there to help. For example, we had a snowstorm last week, and there's always a spike in heart attacks actually in the first snowstorm when
Really?
elderly people get out and start shoveling their snow. So the first thing I did, especially since I couldn't drive to the gym that day, was I went and shoveled the snow and enjoyed it. Found it kind of fun.
It is.
And got it all clear for him. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm in the Bentonville, Fayetteville area. There's a symphony up there that I'm eventually will start playing with. I'm playing with a symphony still in Northeast Arkansas as well. I've got family and friends on that side of the state. So now that I'm retired, when I want, I can just go back and play with them. We're playing Mahler Symphony 1 this year. I don't know how much that'll mean to any motorsports listeners, but I'm a weird, eclectic jack of all trades. I do music. I do the musicals. I was in the car as we were driving around town. I was playing some of my weird music. I enjoy stuff that bends genre rules. So jazz covers of metal. That was a major dyslexic moment. Jazz covers of metal covers of classical. Anything that mix it up. But I enjoy all those different styles. So just the chance to play is kind of where I am these days.
It was some very good in music. Some of it was very similar to some of the stuff that I could kind of aim towards. And it was like, okay, I've touched this stuff before. I understood it. So no, it was pretty good. I did enjoy that. Just driving around town. We just got back from Daytona 1. We just had they were showing off the cars. It was really good, but a little chilly day. But where was I going with that?
It's a wet cold.
It is a wet cold, yeah. What got you into all the band stuff?
Oh, well, I guess when I was an infant, my crib was actually between 2 speakers.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, so it goes all the way back to that. My dad played in a band when he was in school, for sure, and it just kind of ended up being what I was good at. So took guitar lessons when I was real little, and he, you went little kid playing a bunch of chords wasn't very interesting, and I don't know if he was a great teacher. I did do a commercial for him though, so I have an acting career going all the way back when I was 7 years old. Then did piano lessons for quite a while and enjoyed that, but it made it when I started band in 7th grade. It just had me set up with a lot of foundation to get to accelerate really fast on the clarinet and saxophone. And yeah, I just ended up being what I'm good at. So I was a junior year. I was first chair in the state
Mm.
for all state band. Um, Senior year, I actually fell to sixth because there's a little bit of luck involved in the audition process.
Oh,
When they don't know who you are, and it can depend on whether or not the judge had gas when you were playing or something like that. It can come down to that sometimes as far as what makes a difference between a few chairs. So yeah, but that's just what I ended up doing, and probably by the time I was a sophomore, one of my band directors was playing a symphony by the composer Adoram Khachaturian, and he's an Armenian composer, which is a small country near Russia,
hmm.
and that was actually where the first genocide happened. So if you're a System of a Down fan, you might know a little bit more about that. The Ottomans basically tried to kill off all the Armenians during World War One, and one of the reasons that Hitler thought he could get away with the Jews is because nobody did anything about the Turks trying to kill all the Armenians. So, um, little history lesson for you. And Serge, love your band if you happen to be listening to this.
Okay. Did it carry on to like did you go to college for this or what
Yeah,
kind of
I
what
was a bachelor of music education, and I have a
co-
master's in composition as well.
where was where those where did you
Arkansas State University
okay.
in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Yeah,
Okay, nice.
so didn't even have to leave town.
So you said you kind of regret going into the teaching field a little bit. Is that true? Like you said,
Yeah,
or
yeah. I think I should have just been a performer. I'm a far better player than I am a teacher.
and some people are better. Like there's some people that can't play as well, but they can teach someone to play amazingly, or they
Hmm.
or vice versa. And some people just have certain gifts, So yeah, that makes sense.
I know. Well, the classroom itself I enjoyed, but the management of a program and being a people manager, that's the part that I don't feel good at.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
so, in on even though I do the sound for our show, we'll probably get into it a little bit later. Um, I I've discovered, I remember having the dream of being the conductor, but I discovered really quick that I just enjoy being in one of the chairs instead. And that
Hmm.
comes with less power, but it also comes with less stress and less responsibility. And that's just what I'm good at. And it's interesting because I do community theater a lot as well. And I've worked with a few of the choir directors that were like, that have had, when they work with other band directors who are used to being the guy in charge,
Hmm.
they were scared of working with me because they're like, oh great, you're going to be one of those arrogant band directors who's going to tell us how to do everything. And she said, you were pretty chill and just took direction and were just helpful. And that's because when I do a community theater, it's vacation, and I just don't want to be in charge. Really, I don't. I like being heard, but I accept that I can throw ideas at the wall and not all of them will stick,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty happy in that place.
Yeah, not being in charge is kind of nice. You'd have less. It's honestly less responsibility. That kind of I like that part of it where it's like it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of work. So high school, did you date a lot in high school or
I was a serial monogamist. Is the best way to describe it.
monogamist? What is
Monogamist.
you know, what does that mean?
You never heard serial monogamy before? It's
No.
it tend to be in long term relationships, but but you're in and out of them,
Oh, okay.
right? So
So heavy dater, in and out.
yeah, it was
Okay.
it was easy to make connections, but I wasn't good at maintaining them.
Okay.
Ended up marrying in college, and then that didn't last after we were both band directors,
Hmm.
um, and that didn't last. And I've been in a few relationships after that, but I don't. I guess I've discovered I deal with a lot of anxiety, probably from the divorce, and just having to learn to survive on my own emotionally.
Hmm.
Now I don't think I'm wired to be in a relationship, so I've got a pretty full life with that without having to date.
Kind of the road I went down after I had an ex-girlfriend and everything. It went all crazy, and I didn't date for 4 years, and then I did have a date, and I went back to church because that date went so horribly. It kind of brought me to the Lord. That's how badly that went. So yeah, kind of interesting. So you have actually, you'd be surprised the amount of guys we interview on these podcasts that have gotten divorces, I think every single one of them so far. Oh no, Jorge Rincon didn't, but there's definitely, yeah, there was a few that have been remarried and stuff. So yeah, you should go back and listen to them. I think you'd get some solace from them, or uh, maybe closure a little bit. It'd be interesting.
Oh, I'm in a very good place. I don't think.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I listen to a podcast called Solo,
Okay.
which talks about celebrating the remarkable single life.
Right. Yeah.
Because I get to do a lot of things that that married people don't. Really.
Hence, where we're at,
I didn't
right?
have to ask any permission
No.
to come here, and I didn't have to even ask off of work. So,
Yeah.
and I have friends. I don't need a one. I have ones. I have people who fill different roles in life. I've got good friends. I've got good family. I've got good hobbies. I stay very busy. I definitely don't sit at home and get bored. So I'm in a pretty good place, and that podcast actually is one of the things that definitely helped with that. That and just getting an understanding of how I'm wired. There is definitely an element to my personality of narcissism coming from being the runt of my class and the last guy to get picked for everything.
Hmm.
So when I got into music and I was good at that, man, my head just went. Then I went to college and got my butt kicked on the international stage and went back to. But one of the things that I learned is that I guess I was too in love with being in love, and if a cute girl gave me attention, that was the emotion instead of me
Okay.
actually loving them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I'm in a good place and feel like I get to enjoy what I do. It's a lot of racing and performing, a little bit of traveling here and there, and I also do flying. And we mentioned it. We're talking about podcast. I am the sound engineer and kind of the host, the anchor host for Irish's Lounge. Mike Ellis, that's really his flagship. He's we call him the Podfather. But as I got onto the show and started to really get into the flow, and they started giving me a little bit of um, more responsibility, I guess, I convinced him that it's kind of better for me to be the pitch man because he knows a lot
Yeah.
more than I do. He studies it. He does a lot more of the show prep than I do, and so it fits the show format better for me to kind of throw the topics to him and Brad and the other guys. So I'll speak up when I have opinions, but I don't. He is his knowledge in is just so in depth that it's good to have me be the transition guy
Throw it up
to
there.
throw it to him. Yeah.
Throw it up there so they can smack it out of the park
Mhm.
for you, you know? Yeah, that is. Irish's Lounge is really interesting. I was listening to it for a while, and you guys get a little bit of flack for stuff. I'm sure you guys have seen that in and out, but like, it's a really good podcast. It's the biggest thing I noticed about Irish's Lounge. It is extremely informative.
Mhm.
It's a very informative podcast. It's the best way to keep up to date with iRacing stuff. If you're looking for banter, that's not the place to go. There's not as much banter back and forth between people. It's more informative, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll heckle at each other a little bit, but it's
yeah.
even though it is very casual, we just have so many topics that we don't have a whole lot of time to go with a bunch of random banter.
Yeah.
And we'll talk occasionally about personal things, but but that's just not our format, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm a fan of the Into the Apex show, but sometimes they'll spend 30 minutes
Heckling.
not heckling,
Yeah.
and it's entertaining.
It is.
But at the same time, I want the information too. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen to both
Yeah.
because I can. That's why I support Into the Apex, and they're pretty supportive of us. I know they don't like us talking about our show results. Tyler likes to make jabs about that every once in a while on the show. But that's always been a part of the format even before I came on. We do it at the end of the show, though, so if that's something you don't like, you can listen to the beginning of the show and then skip it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You guys talk about all the new hardware and stuff, different hardware quirks that are coming out. I always liked that because, like, I would always go, okay, I saw something new came out. I'm gonna go see what the iRacers Lounge has to say about it, to see what their perspective is, and then like maybe get another review and kind of get an idea of what it's like. Who goes through and gets all those topics out? Is it just like a sheet that you guys go, hey, I saw this one this week, or I saw this one?
Yeah, anybody who comes across something will shoot Mike an email or drop it in one of the chats, and he has a day where he just goes through and scours the internet. There's a dev tracker, I think, where it shows you everything that the developers have posted
Mm-hmm.
that he has access to, so you can see everything that Greg West posts and Tyler Hudson, and so he'll go through that, and then we have all the hardware channels that we follow. The patch notes and stuff like that are easy to come because they come
Yeah.
from the dev trackers as well. What he'll do is he'll throw them all up on our show notes page in a WordPress format where y'all can't see it yet. It's just a preview. All of us can see the preview, and then Brad right now is our main show prepper who cleans it up and gets it ready for the show. And then as we do the show, we can read off the articles, and he'll give an intro that gives me enough information, even if I don't know anything about the article, to make up a transition.
Yeah. So you can throw it up, and you really say, I don't really know much about this, but.
And I'm an improviser, being a jazzer and an improviser. I like to have a loose plan but then I can improvise to that loose plan. There's completely 100% winging it, which we don't do. We definitely have a plan, but at the same time, all of it is kind of go with the flow and adjust as we go, which is the way jazz works. If you have a set of chord changes, but you have all these different things that you can do with those chord changes, and you can sound like you don't know what you're doing at all, or sound like you know what you're doing, but you still have to fit within those rules.
Oh, it makes sense, yeah. Yeah, so iRacers Lounge, what's probably your favorite part about doing that podcast every week?
Ooh.
I know, really.
I'll have to think about that one.
Yeah, no.
My favorite part is having a platform to gripe about the things that I don't like about iRacing. But with a that's got to be it. I'm vocal. I'm probably one. I wouldn't say, I don't know. Brad will be a vocal critic too. But here's the thing, though. We're criticizing iRacing because we basically love iRacing.
Yeah.
And there's just little things that everything that we say is that if I really hated iRacing, I wouldn't be resubscribing.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I love iRacing, but there's some things that I can't stand about it.
They need to fix. Yeah. And it's always a work in progress. Been around since 2008. They're always working, making stuff better, but they don't know what to do unless you guys say something. And what you can do is you can actually see if they say something on ITP or on the iRacers Lounge, you'll go to the next update, you'll go, oh, it's fixed. Well, then there's a different problem that we got to get worked out. That's been created or something like that. So it's always revolving. They fix stuff. They make stuff a little bit better, or they try to fix it and make it worse. And
Greg West has been on our show, and I've exchanged a few emails with him a few times. So they do listen to us. Mm-hmm. In fact, when they started their show, we were like, hey, you're still cool with us doing our show? And he's like, yeah, you just can't ever say you're the official podcast, and we're not. And that's good because it gives us the independence to be a critic.
You have the freedom of criticizing iRacing, which is needed, and so it kind of works out pretty good. I really enjoyed the show for years. I kind of sadly I stopped listening to it a little bit, but I listened to this last episode and it was pretty good. You guys do a really good job, and he does all the sound work for him and does all the transitions. So if you give him a round of applause, tell him thank you guys. If you like the podcast, he's the one that makes it happen along with everybody else there, but he's the one that does all the final production after it has already been done.
A little final bragging point is that the theme song is actually me on the drums.
I was going to ask you about that because I was listening to it. I was listening to it on the airplane, and I was like, I bet you he made that himself.
Yeah, I wrote the theme song as well.
Yeah, I figured.
I wrote it. I didn't play the guitar parts because I can't play guitar. I had a friend who's a professional guitar player in the state of Arkansas lay down the guitar tracks for me, and then I just put it all together. He was in West Arkansas at the time. I was in East Arkansas at the time. He just sent me the takes, and I edited it all together as best I could for an amateur sound engineer, and boom.
So it was really cool to because I hadn't listened to it in a couple months. It was cool to go back, and I was hearing that that guitars and the drums and everything. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting back into it. It's really good. Like he knows what he's doing. So that turned out really good. Man, have that kind of talent. I've never been musically talented, and so that's kind of it's an interesting niche. I wouldn't say it's a niche. Interesting field.
Well, music's been a part of humans since
Yeah.
humans have been a part of humans. So
Yeah, no, music like lives within me. I know that for sure. I'm really big in music. I listen to a lot of music. Music is very important. It can help control like how you're feeling and everything. And so, if you use music correctly, it can really affect your life for good. So, yeah. So NIS, you race all the NIS races?
usually, though, I quit in the middle of the season this year because I just got burned out and I'm having a really bad year, um, having a stressful year at work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting caught up in every rig that could be, and this is one of those places though there's no officiating, right? It is official, and
Mm-hmm.
there's the splits I was stuck in. There was just some guys that really race dirty and get away with it every week, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this, and I stopped. They were like, you just always threatening, and I finally just quit running it, and now I've come back and run in the fixed. Uh, Winter Series race that Alan Pajari hosts, and I definitely have completely forgotten how to drive the car, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fits. I guess that means I get to start over and learn, or maybe I'm
Right.
just not that great at the ovals anymore.
Really, the difference is they changed the updates. They changed the cars.
Yeah,
The
and I don't like the Cup car. It
yeah,
needs to have horsepower. And that's nothing Irish can do. That's
that's
NASCAR.
NASCAR issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna run them all this year, you think, or see how far you get?
We'll see how far we get.
Yeah. Hey, that is perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable.
One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refuse to look at the points. Last year, after 5 weeks, I was second in points, and then it just went, and
Yeah.
that that added to the burnout.
Yeah. It was so it's Daytona 24. You raced that, right?
We did.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
how did that go for you guys?
One of our teams, the one that I ran with, we came in third. Another one of our teams was wiped out on lap 2 after setting the pole.
Right.
And then they had a really bad night. They blew 2 engines and had no like 6 other 6 or 8 minute tows and repairs, including a guy that messaged us saying one of our guys messed up and he couldn't go to the inside because there was a car in his inside and the GT3 broke um, earlier than he expected, though it looked like it was about the normal braking time. And he ran into him, and it net coded and destroyed the guys, and they were the GT3 leader. And they sent us a message saying that the whole team should be lifetime banned. They're mad, but that's not going to happen. But they were
Yeah.
mad. We sent an apology, and then that's all we can do about it. But they had it, and then the GT3 guys also ran, and they had a few accidents as well. They had rain in their split. We ran an early. We had to start at the 2 a.m. slot so that one of our teammates could run GT. He wanted to run the GT3
Mhm.
and the GTP car.
Yeah,
So
I learned that the hard way. You can't. Newsflash, to all you guys out there. I've only ever raced iRacing. You didn't hear this. I've only ever raced. I've raced on 2 different accounts for the Rolex before on the same time split, but I didn't realize I raced on 2 different accounts. So this year I go and get ready. I got 2 teams I'm racing for. I never even thought that they were the same time split because I always use 2 different accounts. So that way I could, it was really because somebody else wanted to race and they couldn't. And so I raced, you know, um, without incriminating myself. Um, and I signed up for 2 teams, same time slot. I learned the hard way. You can't do that. Don't do that. That's a dum dum. Sorry to the Chop Shop Racing team. I apologize. I did a lot of practice in that Corvette to give you guys a good position. I did a lot of rain practice, so I apologize. But yeah, no, it was. We ran the LMP2. Our split had a lot of rain. We had probably 10 hours of wet track. You were dry the whole time.
mhm.
See, that's mind blowing that they can just change them like that.
Well, my understanding of the system is that there's a forecast that's kind of set up with percentages and you could see that it had a little chart, and it said
Hmm.
it peaked up at about 14% one time, and then peaked up at about 30% one time. And we'd see that approaching when the race was live, but it would just keep dropping to zero because there's the forecast,
Hmm.
and then each time the server is spun up, there's a new roll of the dice essentially,
Hmm.
and we just rolled dry, basically, to use a Dungeons and Dragons reference.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was interesting. We were wet 10 hours and I was really fast in the wet. As soon as that track would dry, I just, I had no speed. For some reason, I was really fast when it was wet. When it was dry, I was a second behind my teammates, which is a lot of time. Um, but I held the car together. I was very safe in the car. But Rolex every single year seems like the biggest event of the year. Do you feel like that
It
or?
always is. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's we have guys that we're mostly an oval racing team, though we've got a few guys that really like sports cars. Me, Tom, and one of our newest members, William.
mhm.
Um, but like it's the only sports car race Mike runs. It's the only sports car race Tony runs. Greg will run a few things. Kyle will run a few things, but some of them that's literally the only sports car race they run, and it's the same way for everybody. It's the only sports car race that a lot of real NASCAR drivers ran
Yeah,
back in the day. So because it's at the capital of NASCAR,
yeah, right out
essentially.
the window. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we saw the track and it's all NASCAR, NASCAR, NASCAR.
Mhm.
There's not IMSA logos everywhere. There's a few because of the event, but a lot more of them, but more of the logos are actually the Rolex 24 logos
Yeah.
that are around. So it's
As far as your finish, I said it several times on our show, and we made jokes about it as we were on Discord talking. I would say when I was racing it or sitting watching somebody else, I would act like a tour guide and say, "Guys, if you'll take a look at the left, you'll see the garage, and you'll notice that it's going 0 miles per hour."
yeah, we're kicking their butts.
So and then I said that a few times. The garage travels at 0 mph. So if you're wrecked, that's basically the biggest thing that makes a difference. And the
Mhm.
reason we got the third is because we stayed unwrecked.
That's the key. And you also have to not have crashes. That's what screwed me over the LMP2 is we had two computer crashes. We were going to win the race.
Yeah.
We were headed to win the race, and it was heartbreaking. As soon as that computer crashed, I was sitting there because my simulator and my bed are so close together. I was sitting in my bed looking up at my simulator, and he said, "My computer just crashed." And I said, "What?" "My computer just crashed." And I just said, "This guy, get in the car, tow him, get that car back on track." And then when it crashed the second time, I literally said, "Clear it, get back in the car." And I said, "Good night, guys. I'm going to bed." I literally hung up the headset and I just disappeared. I didn't have any more stints to race. I didn't need to do anything else, but no, I did that for Mad Sim Racing, which was, you know what? It's kind of weird. As I get closer and closer to my mission, I'm reaching my iRacing peak. It's kind of interesting. As I'm just about to leave forever, it kind of feels like for 2 years, I'm starting to reach my peak.
Well, you're young, so don't peak too soon. You
I
should have
think
another peak later.
hopefully I do, right? Hopefully I come back from my mission and it just
Yeah.
keeps still going up. So yeah. So are you gonna race Bathurst?
Probably in the GT3.
Okay.
I don't like running the supercars there.
It's all GT3.
Yeah, we
Oh,
ran
sorry,
that
Bathurst
one.
12. Yeah,
We
sorry.
ran that one last year. So yeah, I don't remember what knocked us out last year. Uh, I've gotten where I'm not fast, but I'm pretty good about not crossing the limit once I know where the limit is. Usually, I've gotten better at not making the mistakes. I can get around Bathurst. I don't know if so, yeah, but the thing about Bathurst is if you miss, you're done.
You're done.
There's no off tracks. There's walls, and that's it.
I was trying to explain it to my brother. He just got into iRacing on the 23rd of December, and I took him around Lime Rock. Yeah, Lime Rock. That's a really simple track, right? He hates it. Okay, but I take him to Daytona. He loves it. He's like, it has to be flowy. I'm like, Daytona's not flowy at all. It has no flow. And I showed him a video of Bathurst because me and him are going to race it together. Kind of my last hurrah before I leave. We'll announce that in a second. My last hurrah will be that race, the Bathurst 12. I have my farewell that same weekend. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to do it with my brother. And I kind of showed him the video. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll be able to race. I'm like, you realize you're going to wreck the car. He's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. That track's super flowy. I'll be fine. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, that track is insanely difficult. He's like, I'm watching it right now. I'll be fine. I'm like, you're going to wreck the car. He's like, no, I won't. I'm like, I will put money on it that you're going to wreck the car.
Has he practiced it yet?
He doesn't even own the track yet or the car. He's still, I think he just got to C class. So like he's fairly new. So he's trying to get his I rating up to go do the Daytona 500 with me. I'm looking to do Daytona, Atlanta. That'll be pretty much done. But yeah, after that, it's what? Sebring.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my favorite events. Sebring.
Sebring is my favorite track. It's close between there and Monza that I have the most wins in the
nice.
sports car. I've racked up a lot of wins when the LMP1 was still out partially because not that many people won it. So if a couple other really fast guys got knocked out, I was right there behind them. And I was pretty good in the LMP. I'm doing okay on the GTP, but the LMP suited me really well.
Well, they changed the LMP so much. Have you driven it since they changed it?
No, it's just the LMP1.
Oh yeah, LMP1. Okay,
where you actually manually boosted.
Yes.
And which made for some interesting races because you could decide where you're going to boost, and it changed. It actually meant there was strategy. I don't like the GTP where you just don't really have any control over the hybrid.
Yeah, you just flip a switch and maybe this, maybe that. Attack mode, balance mode. You pretty much just leave on balance the whole race now, don't you?
Yeah, you can turn it down for the last 2 laps. And they copycatted the system off of the F1 car.
F1, yes.
It's not how the real hybrids work. The real hybrids here they all have their own systems that don't all work the same, and they all actually have torque sensors on the wheels that determine how much energy is spent. So if you hear them on the radio saying this team has violated their energy usage policy, it's because they have a virtual fuel tank that IMSA is calculating with that torque sensor.
The torque sensor.
And every team, no matter how fuel efficient the car is only allowed to spend so much torque. So they get so much torque per fuel stint.
That makes sense.
Is how it's done instead of actual fuel.
So that's what we heard. That they had issues with that. The Porsche, the number 6 Porsche had issues with that last year during the Daytona 24 during the Rolex. I remember that. It gets kind of complicated, but. So Sebring, you're gonna drive the GTP or
that's the car I prefer.
Which GTP do you prefer?
I like the Caddy.
The Caddy,
basically, because of how it sounds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm an Acura guy. I think Acura.
Well, the Acura wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
I think, but before the Caddy comes out, but I just like how the Caddy sounds.
Oh, it sounds really good.
And they nerfed the crap out of the Acura at Daytona.
Nerfed it. They
took 2% of power from it.
Oh yeah, well, because it was the fastest by far. Because if you remember, do you remember doing the Majors 24 last year?
I remember doing it, but that's at Le Mans.
Yeah, it's at Le Mans. But my point is the 2 first splits were 100% accurate because they were that much quicker.
Are they considering doing a BLP this year
for the Majors?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but no, there's no BLP. They're not going to do a BLP.
But I'm not a high enough echelon to feel like the cars make that much of a difference. Though one of our teammates, Joe Owen, he felt like he was a second faster in the Acura, and he's slower than me. So, but I like the Caddy and how it feels. It's just comfortable, and I guess if somebody else tries all the different cars and does all that work, I'm not going to do all that work and test every car and see which one's faster. I don't think I'm talented enough for it to make that big of a difference switching cars.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Do you know what I did love? Is it added the bump start, dude. Because it was so weird. I got in the car and I clicked I, clicked S. I clicked S again. I held down S. What's wrong with this car? It will not start.
Yeah. Mike Ellis was on the chat when he went to practice for our race. He's like, I can't get this car to start. And I was like, it's already started. And I know when the first time I logged in on it, I thought my sound was broken.
Yes,
because I have auto start.
Yeah.
So it should already be started, and I hit the gas just to rev it, and I hear no sound. I hear no sound, and then so I start checking the sound and the settings, and I'm like, oh, it's the bump start.
Yeah, dude, I love that, dude. I got in the Acura, which I'm really glad I did because the grip is insane now. But got in the Acura, and I was like, I couldn't figure out it. Then it started rolling, and I got to like 45. Bah! I'm like, this is sick.
Have you ever hit the bump stop without the limiter on and with the traction control off?
No.
It will send you around.
Oh, will it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I need to try that.
Yeah, it happened one of the first times too. On my wheel, I have to turn the knobs to kind of let iRacing know where they are because I've got it set for 12 positions, and so if I don't turn the knobs, they sit on one, and unless I reload the set. But like if I've run 4 IMSA races, when I log back in, it's going to think I'm on one because I'm not going to load the set again. So I have to turn it. And yeah, I went in with it on 1-on-1, and I don't think I hit the limiter or it started me in really close pit box, so I didn't need to. And yeah, I had it floored, and as soon as the engine kicked in, it just went.
Yeah, yeah, which is how those cars should act, really. When that kind of stuff happens, and they made LMP2 better. It just flips around now. It's weaker, it's looser, it's harder to drive, and it's exactly how it should be.
Yeah, they were too equal before the last build.
Wait, and the LMP2 was way too easy to drive.
In the rain, especially.
Yeah, especially when we had Sebring last year. Almost every split, an LMP2 winner won it. Like, it was ridiculous. I love how they made the car more difficult to drive. It gave me such a great challenge this year, and I really appreciated that. So I think they made the GTPs too easy to drive this year, though.
That's what they say.
What do you think?
Maybe. I like it being easier to drive.
You like it,
but I definitely in the rain. It's definitely way easier to drive in the rain. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they change. I noticed it more at Daytona. I didn't really. We were at a track before, and I was like, I'm running the same lap times. It doesn't really seem like it changed. What track were we? We were at a track on build week. I don't remember what track it was. Oh no, it was the blackout.
Oh, the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blackout was across the patch.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't get any faster when the patch happened. Maybe a second.
Okay.
All right. And Nürburgring. But at Daytona, especially going into the horseshoe, going into turn 1, and not so much 7. I kept tending to overdrive that one.
Okay.
But both of the horseshoes I could drive in way deeper than I used to, and it took me a while to even figure that out. I was like, oh wow, yeah. And turn 1, and then they had that weird outside line that one of the guys tried to get us to go on. I never got it to work right, but I did it about halfway. I could go kind of towards the middle and cut over and get good lap times.
I didn't know about that before the race. I was trying to figure out what all these with all these GTPs were doing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? That was really frustrating, especially as an LMP2 and was supposed to be a GT3. You're like, what the heck are you doing, dude? What are you doing, dude? Like, you got to keep it on track. But yeah, man, iRacing, man, it's awesome. It really is. There's nothing like it. But yeah, is there anything else you want to add, either about your life, about iRacing?
My other hobby is digital combat simulator. I do some flying on that. I fly the F-18 a lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
you get like a HOTAS and everything.
Games. Yeah.
Oh,
and
nice.
in fact, I added on a little drawer that slides out on my racing rig.
Okay.
And so I can set the HOTAS, and it's an X56, and so I can take the wheel off of my Fanatec base and put the 2 sticks there, and then I put my keyboard over here on the side because I have to do still a lot of keyboard binds that you need in digital combat. So yeah, that's the other game I play, I guess, when I'm burned out on iRacing.
Always simulators. Simulator guys, they just stick with more simulators. That's what it seems like. You think they get burned out of simulators. Either they're going to be driving a tractor or airplane or combat or.
I think what really attracts me, I used to play games like EVE Online a long time ago, and those would almost turn into a job. Because they had this stuff that you have to grind to get enough points and stuff like that. And that's what burned me out of that on that game. And what I like about iRacing and Digital Combat Simulator is the pickup nature, where you can just kind of jump on when you want. And if you like not going to get to race all week, no big deal, because we're here, right? Unless I go over to Bobby's house, one of my teammates lives here in Daytona. But he's about a foot taller than me, so he would have to actually rearrange his rig for me to be
Yeah,
able to race in it.
yeah, he would, because well, he said it was pretty small before, but yeah, he had some
His new
changes.
chair, he got a new
Yeah.
chair.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but and we're starting to get to the end here. We do have an announcement. You get to be here for this announcement. Nobody else knows this yet. Um, everybody knows I've been preparing to leave and everything, and I did get my mission call actually a week ago yesterday, and I've been called to labor in the Montana Missoula mission. It's a pretty big mission in Montana. I know it's where I need to go. I'm pretty excited. I'm not excited for the MTC, I have to admit, but I'm excited to be with the people of Montana. I think it fits me. It definitely fits my personality. Doesn't have a racetrack, but that was like one of the things I was like, send me somewhere with a racetrack. Do you blame me? I'm like, come on.
You're not gonna get to go to the race anyway.
That's true. Yeah, that's everybody keeps saying that. I'm like, shut up. It gives me an excuse to go back. Yes. But no, Montana's great. I'm really excited. So yeah, it's gonna be great. So I'm gonna share scripture with you guys, and if I feel inspired, I'll share a spiritual thought. Sound good with you?
Go for it.
All right. I believe this is called Moroni's Promise. I'm not sure, but we're reading Moroni 10, 3 and 4. I believe this is going to be my mission scripture because you have to have a plaque with your mission scripture. And it says, pardon me, this is a really small Book of Mormon. Behold, I would exhort you that when ye shall read these things, if it be wisdom in God, that ye should read them, that ye would remember how merciful the Lord hath been unto the children of men, from the creation of Adam even down until the time that ye shall receive these things and the power and ponder it in your hearts. And 4 is, and when ye shall receive these things, I would exhort you that ye would ask God, the eternal Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, if these things are not true. And if ye shall ask with a sincere heart, with real intent, having faith in Christ, he will manifest the truth of it unto you by the power of the Holy Ghost. So I like that because this is kind of important to me when I was coming back to the church, and it was like, okay, I need to actually that's the biggest thing to me is like true heart intent. Like you actually have to actually want to know. You have to have it with full heart and intent. And, if you're just going in like half what I would call, pardon my French, but half-assed, it just doesn't work. You're not going to get the same answers. And so it's just really important to me that if you're going to read, if you want to know about God, you need to do it with full intent, with all your heart, and really put your mind to it. You have to want it. If you kind of just want it for social status, it's not going to work. If you just want it because it makes you look good to others, it's not going to work. You have to want to know. What do you think, David?
Sounds pretty equivalent to a lot of New Testament teachings, whereas works are not the answer. It's what's in the heart.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And in all reality, it doesn't matter what religion you're in. I truly believe that. As long as you're trying to become a better person, that's really what matters at the end of the scheme of thing, and it's going to make the world a better place. So, yeah, man. Oh, this is a great podcast. I really think, live at Daytona, you can't beat that, can you? Excited for tomorrow. We got a little bit. We got MX5s tomorrow.
I'm anxious about staying warm. I'm just going to throw on some extra layers.
Yeah, we could probably stop by a Bass Pro Shop, get another blanket or something, but yeah.
I'm talking about outside. I'm not worried about. I've got the blankets.
Oh, you're good.
I'm covered in the car. Yeah.
Oh, the car.
It's not going to be as bad here today. It's only going to be in the 30s here.
Yeah.
Instead of 4 degrees when I stayed near Atlanta.
So you're scared about being cold during the day tomorrow?
Yeah, because
okay.
So I'm gonna make sure I throw on.
Bundle up.
And yeah, bundle up even more.
Yeah, bundle up really good. It's a wet cold. It's very different. Okay, so. Yeah, but everybody, thank you. This was a great podcast. We're right on time because I try to stay on time because we both need to go to bed because long travel day, no sleep. Um, so we both want to go to bed. I'll see if I can get on and do some lives with you guys as we're going around Daytona, probably on my phone. But yeah, I want to thank everybody, the Chopping It Up crew, Ryan, Wen, Michael Strickland. Thank you for doing all the editing. Please, guys, if you want these podcasts out more often, text Michael Strickland and tell him to post one of my episodes. I guarantee you there's one in the queue. There's one in the queue right now that hasn't been uploaded. It's uploaded yet. It's Marty, a guy with the communities for NASCAR Heat 5, but also is on iRacing and works with iRacing a bit. And really good one. That's gonna be coming out next. It should be out while we're at the Rolex, and then I'm gonna have him push out this episode here. Probably we'll have to see. We never know. But yeah, if you want more of these, give a little nudge to Mike. Say, hey, Mike, can we get more of these uploaded? And maybe I do a push before I leave for my mission. I've been called to report on March 3rd. So March 3rd, I will disappear from the earth for 2 years from you guys. I will be gone. So the podcast won't necessarily end because we plan on trying to stow up a bunch of podcasts. So yeah, guys. So I just want to thank everybody. Like I said, Michael Strickland, Brad Dove, you need to start your podcast. It'll be really good to see you guys. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And you know what? Good night.